Hey folks, it's Patriot Nurse. What is coming down the pike within the next 6 months is probably going to make the difference between whether or not we officially dive full-blown into a depression in the United States, and nobody is really talking about this. We're going to discuss this today, and also what are some strategies that you can implement to safeguard your family and to shield yourself against the reality of the second Great Depression that will likely hit the United States very soon. So, of course, friends, figures lie and liars figure. Do we trust anything that's coming out of D.C.? Do we trust any of their stats that assure us that this is the greatest economy ever? No. Do we trust anything that's coming out from the Federal Reserve? No. Do we trust anything that's coming out from any of these organizations that are supposed to be for us, the people, but really are for lining their own pockets and have proved this over the past several decades? The answer is no. So when they assure us that everything's going to be fine and that they've got a handle over it, I take it with just a little bit of suspicion. So why do I say the next 6 months? Well, here's the reality, friends. Since COVID, we started printing, thanks to the Federal Reserve, a non-elected bureaucratic cabal of central bankers. We started printing money in the United States after they told us, stay at home, make sure that you roll up your sleeve, and only go to work if you're considered essential. Right? So in order to keep things from totally shutting down, what did they do? They, of course, turned on the money supply. And what have we all experienced? Every single person who shops for their own groceries, who pays their own bills, and who has things that keep reoccurring as expenses each month, like, for instance, a mortgage payment, insurance premiums, health insurance costs, or rent. We have seen that our value as a dollar's purchasing capability has been steadily eroded and destroyed. Groceries are double in my area what they were. You might have experienced this. What have you noticed is the single biggest increase since COVID in your monthly expenditure? Leave me a comment below. So we all know that we have experienced inflation, and I call total BS on their little tiny single-digit numbers, because if you look month to month at what your expenses are now compared to what they were in 2019, you know that it's a lie. It's double digits, and in some cases, for instance, in the cost of housing in my area, the cost of housing has officially increased on paper 86%. But when you look at actually lived reality of people's numbers, it's more than 120%. So the reality of inflation has hit us because these people decided that they wanted to control our lives, and now they want to do it even more. So here's what's coming down the pike. As of December 1st, their whole cycle of money printing and quantitative easing, and then the response to it, which is quantitative tightening, that's going to end for now. They had responded to all of their money printing with, okay, let's slow down, let's decrease the velocity and the volume of money that's moving through our supply chain. And this officially ends on December 1st. But as it ends on December 1st, there's a new epoch that's going to be starting, and that is most likely quantitative easing. That is turning on the money printers again. So the reason why I say this is that the current head of the Federal Reserve, Jerome Powell, is going to be aging out, if you will, of his appointed position when? In May of 2026. Now, who is it that is responsible for appointing the head of the Federal Reserve? That would be the President of the United States, confirmed, of course, by the Senate. And our president has said that he wants the Federal Reserve to adopt lower interest rates. And also, the Federal Reserve themselves has come out with position statements recently saying that they need to expand their balance sheets, that they need to essentially increase the monetary supply, i.e., start that good old money printer again. So if you have the confluence of factors of our president who has said that he wants lower interest rates for people, meaning cheaper and easier money for people, widely more access to credit, 50-year mortgages, in concert with the likelihood that he will appoint a head of the Federal Reserve who will implement the low interest rate and easy money policies that frankly got us here in the first place, what we're setting up for is a second round of hyperinflation that's going to further create more asset bubbles and make things more difficult for people to live month to month who have expenses. Now, why should we be paying attention to this right now, and why is this next 6 months such a critical time frame? Because, friends, if you look at the key factors that contributed to the overall crash that led to the Great Depression, we are repeating a great number of them with today's tech flip. One of the things that we've seen recently in the United States, and I think really behooves us to pay attention to in particular, is the softening of the labor market. This is critical. As we are seeing these record profits reported by these mega corporations who are also simultaneously laying off large numbers of people, we're not really seeing this new hiring and this unemployment be reabsorbed into a stronger and increasingly more vigorous labor market that we would have hoped would have been the proof for the policies currently in existence actually working. This same thing happened in the lead up to the Great Depression. Companies were experiencing a record increase in profits driven by an increase in efficiency. And because these companies were more efficient and increasing the black while not hiring as many people, it created a mismatch where people who were producing these goods were not able to consume them, A, because they weren't getting hired, and B, because their wages had not increased commensurate with the rising cost of everything else. Does any of this sound familiar? So whereas before in the 20s, it was mechanization, the assembly line, the adaptation of electricity, now what is it? AI. So this is a key point to really set the stage for what comes next. In the lead up to the stock market crash and the Great Depression, this reality of record profits for companies while labor market is softening and purchasing power is also softening, the Fed at that time decided that they were going to try and interdict things, that they were going to try and control things because they're so great at doing that. And when they started raising interest rates, it created this kind of cascade effect of increasing corporate defaults. Now, back in the day, we didn't have the FDIC, which supposedly ensures that your deposits are going to be safeguarded and protected. Now they're technically safeguarded and protected, but they're being destroyed via inflation. So it doesn't really matter if they say, yeah, your deposits are secure for $250,000. If your $250,000 are technically there, but they've lost 70, 80, 90% of their purchasing power. So yeah, they're protected against absolute not being there, but they're not protected against inflation that the Federal Reserve has caused in the first place. So all of this, of course, led to what we know is the stock market crash of 1929. And from the stock market's peak to its trough, the stock market lost 89.2% of its value from top to bottom. The spread in between was 89.2% loss in value. What we're seeing now is this ginormous asset bubble that's being created. And if the Fed gets what they want, come 6 months from now, around about May, June, with the appointment of potentially a very dovish Federal Reserve head who's going to be all about turning on the money supply again, printing more money, and giving cheaper interest rates, then what we're going to see is an expansion in the monetary supply and an increase in the cost of everything secondary to a new round of inflation. Interestingly, I think the reason why they would be adopting this mode as opposed to the other is that in their mind, they're thinking, well, gee, like we have all of the factors together that would set us up for a Great Depression. We don't want to make the mistake that they did last time by raising those rates. Well, the reality is you caused this by making money cheap in the first place. So you need to leave it alone and allow the market to correct itself instead of going in there and screwing around with it. As a nurse, this reminds me of the cascade of interventions. When physicians start nipping and tucking and taking and cutting, and then they realize they screwed something up and they have to do what? Go back in and do more nipping and cutting and taking. And it's a cycle that doesn't stop unless things are left alone. And they're not going to leave things alone going into the midterms, friends. They're going to screw with it more. So now that we've set the stage for what exactly is going down and what the severe and very real risk factor is of a huge increase in inflation coming starting from 6 months forward, what do we do about this? Well, friends, taking your today's dollars that are worth more and putting them in places that are going to serve you is a wise and strategic move. Now, this isn't financial advice per se. I'm just looking at this from a historical precedent and telling you what I'm doing myself. So the first thing is you've got to identify what it is or the things that you use every day that are not going to just stop because you don't have money that's worth anything anymore. You're always going to have to eat. You're always going to have shoes and socks, things to cover your body. You're going to have clothes and shelter. So how do we prioritize things and make sure that our bases are covered? Well, here's the reality, friends. If you look back to the Great Depression of old and look at the lessons that our grandparents carried forward, they have some themes that repeat themselves. The first thing that we really need to prioritize is food. And our grandparents knew this. They wasted precious little, if not nothing, in the kitchen. They repurposed, they planned, and they were very strategic about the way that they shopped and they completed their grocery tasks. To this end, friends, we have launched our course, Strategic Nutrition for Survival. My goal for this course is that you're going to be equipped to use your resources better, to waste food less, and also to set yourself up for health. So that way, by eating things wisely and creating a plate that is supporting your body, that you're going to need to go to the doctor less, spend less money on pharmaceuticals, and overall have a better experience. Because, friends, your grandparents will tell you this in the Great Depression. If you couldn't work, if you didn't have the ability to move about, and if you were sick and going to the doctor all the time, those bills added up. So we need to really focus on utilizing the food in our plate to support our body's health overall. And that is the goal of the course that I have just launched. We are having a Black Friday deal. The link is in the description box below. You can save yourself $50 right now. I've really tried to make this an accessible price point for people. The second thing that they really prioritized as our grandparents going through the Great Depression was shoes and socks, things to keep themselves comfortable while it was cold, wet, and rainy outside. If you don't have a reliable pair of boots, friends, some type of shoe that protects your foot and keeps your foot warm and dry, you really need to prioritize this. Also, make sure that you have socks that are going to withstand repeated wear, not wear out the heels. And a lot of this depends on whether or not you're a heel walker or if you have some different type of actually planting your foot and moving it. But friends, you have got to have good socks and good shoes to carry you through. It is not going to get cheaper, particularly if they start turning on the money supply, which they are most likely going to do. Your shoes, your socks, and the things that are quality are going to go way up in price. We have already seen this be the case. The next thing to focus on is eliminating unnecessary costs specifically related to your health. Now, friends, I don't know about you, but a lot of people that I know of do not have health insurance. And it's not because they are irresponsible. It's because they've done the math, they've looked at the bottom line, and they know that when your premiums go up 50 to 100% and your rent has gone up 30 to 50%, sometimes more, maybe 100% if you're in Tennessee, then you've got to make cuts somewhere. So a lot of people are cutting out health insurance right now. And listen, cash pay is a very legitimate option. Cash pay will save you a lot of money over health insurance premiums in many cases, if not most, if you are diligent about negotiating prices ahead of time. However, you need to be aware that if you choose to drop your health insurance, you can't just be gambling and throwing the Yahtzee dice and hoping that things work. You need to have a plan to safeguard your health and the health of your family, particularly the health of whoever is bringing in the money in the house. The health of whoever is the breadwinner is really going to be the health of everyone else financially in the house. So how do we do this? First off, decreasing your need of the medical industrial complex and the pharmaceutical system that has got your serfdom as its number one goal. They want to keep you sick. They want to keep you dependent upon their pharmaceuticals and their chemicals. And the more that you can focus on your health and decrease your need to go see these people in the first place, A, the better you're going to feel, and B, the less money that you're going to be wasting going to see them, just labeling your issues without actually giving you any path to getting better and healing from them. One of the reasons why my 4-hour course, the Foundations of Medical Preparedness, has been so popular is because people realize, wait a minute, just the cost of the course itself, if I complete it and it saves me one trip to the doctor, that it's already paid for itself. But if I save myself 2 unnecessary trips to the doctor, now I've made money effectively. So again, friends, please prioritize your skills and also decreasing your need upon this system. They are not going to get cheaper. They're not going to take better care of you. And it's not going to become overall more accessible in the years to come, certainly when they start printing money again. The saying that you've heard, make it do without, use it up, or wear it out. That is really the rallying cry of my household as of late. So make sure that you are really focusing on developing your skills and making yourself more and more independent and self-sufficient. We're never going to be completely independent, friends, but we can get to a place where we need a system that's weaponized against us less and less. And that's the overall goal. So friends, this video is a little bit heavy, but it was an imperative on my heart to share this with you because I really, at this point, am extremely concerned that we are going to see an inverse J curve as far as the overall quality of life taking a dive for people in the United States. People are already at their breaking point. When they fire on this money supply again, that's going to be the nail in the coffin. I'm sorry to say it. I'm not trying to be unnecessarily reactionary, friends, but I don't see any other possible way from basic math and historical literacy that there is any other possibility of an outcome other than what we have mentioned here today. So friends, if you got value from this video, please share this with one person. The best thank you is a referral, friends. If you got value from this video, if you learned something, if it lit a fire under your rear end to actually do something, share it with one person who you know would be benefited from it. Also, as we've said, The courses are available now. You can save yourself $50 on Black Friday weekend. There's a link in the description box below. Also, as far as medical kits, we have to raise our prices next year on our medical kits, the Patriot Nurse Grab and Go kit, because our costs for shipping are going up 10%, and I haven't even looked yet at what the inventory increases are going to be. So I'm trying to keep those prices as low as I can for you right now. There's also a sale on the website currently with a discount for those kits as well. Friends, take care of yourselves and your family. We're at a point right now where I think we're watching the end of our empire rapidly come up in the rearview mirror. And how it is that we prepare now over these next 6 months is really going to make the difference for our families, I think. If we're providential, we don't prep out of fear, friends. This is urgency that you're hearing from me. This is not panic. This is not hyperbole. Patriot Nurse doesn't need to calm down. I'm coming to you from a place of, I don't want your family to suffer. I don't want people to unnecessarily have to go through hardship. If someone would have given them a message 6 months prior for them just to put a little extra food by, just to really invest in their skill sets, just to take a few extra steps to make their lives easier. That's why I'm coming to you. I hope that you receive this video and in the heart and in the spirit in which it's intended. May the Lord bless and keep you all. For now, it's Patriot Nurse signing off. I'll see y'all later. Bye.